Okay guys, so we're going to go through something here that's kind of an interesting anatomical phenomenon or anatomical variation that occurs between individuals, especially between men and women. Okay, so this is the carrying angle. And to start off with, we'll basically show you what the carrying angle is. And the carrying angle is effectively the angle between this line that runs down from the shoulder, down through the center of the humerus, so the upper arm, and the lower arm. Okay, so what's the angle there between the upper arm and the forearm? And as you can see, that's not a perfectly straight line. Okay, so there's some sort of increase in the angle as it runs out from the side of the body. Now, if you think of why that might be, why that difference might exist between men and women, if you think about the typical kind of anthropometry of men and women, typically women are going to have broader hips, okay, and narrower shoulders. That's kind of the typical difference you see, whereas men will typically have broader shoulders and narrower hips. Okay, so in women it would obviously make sense then as a result that their carrying angle would be a little bit wider because they need to be able to carry things outside the width of their hips, and hence it would make sense why we have evolved that way. So that's the basic kind of sex difference. It doesn't mean, again, like all these things exist on a spectrum, it doesn't necessarily mean that all individuals are going to follow that exact path, and that every man you encounter is going to have a smaller carrying angle than every woman you meet. What you see there with Paddy is that he's actually got quite a large carrying angle, and you might be wondering, okay, cool story, bro, enough of the evolution, what's the story, like what does this actually mean, why does it matter? And why it matters is because this might come up as a variable of interest when you're doing certain exercises such as bicep curls, for example, because when I set up Paddy on a straight bar bicep curl, I'm going to say, okay Paddy, you know, grab the bar at shoulder width. Okay, and if I'm telling him to grab the bar at shoulder width and it's getting down to this bottom position, then this is me kind of forcing him into this position that isn't necessarily following his carrying angle, whereas his carrying angle would want him to kind of be out there. Now, does that matter? It depends. You know, it may matter, it may not matter. Where these things begin to matter is essentially where problems begin to arise, you know, where you begin to see problems. And that's not always true, because it's not necessarily the case that you have to wait till someone's in pain during an exercise to make some sort of change. But if someone is saying, you know, I actually find it really uncomfortable to hold a straight bar. I find it really uncomfortable to try and hold my arms and my arms and my hands and my shoulders all in that straight line. And when I use dumbbells, it feels much better. Sometimes that can be because of that carrying angle. Because if we look at the way Paddy kind of naturally moves his arm, if you just bring your arm up and down from your shoulder, it looks comfortable for him to basically hold the arm out at an angle, and then it's coming in towards the center. And that seems to be a more comfortable position for him. Now obviously there's a difference there between external rotation and a carrying angle, because you know, someone could be out here and curling up. That doesn't mean that that's their carrying angle, because you actually have to make sure that the bicep, the pit of the bicep, or the pit of the elbow, the cubital fossa, that's facing forward when you're looking at it. So as I look down the humerus here, I see that there's that angle to the side. So if I bring Paddy's arm up, then I'm seeing that it's not going in that perfect straight line like we would kind of expect if someone was doing a basic bicep curl. So yeah, it seems like one of those kind of nuanced things that may never matter. It's just an interesting anatomical variation, but it may indeed matter for those clients who, especially if they have a very large carrying angle and they're already telling you that this particular exercise is quite uncomfortable for them. It might be wise to kind of give them a bit more freedom in terms of their ability to move, whether that be using something like a cable variation. So you could use handles that are freely movable, you could use dumbbells that are freely movable, or you could just play around with the grip width and see how that actually changes their experience. Because at the end of the day, it's all about ensuring that people are enjoying their exercise experience while still training hard, of course, and that they're going to be in the game for the long run. And we ultimately want to be able to find the exercises that are most enjoyable, most sustainable, and most productive from a results perspective. So if that is being hindered by someone, you know, being really uncomfortable during an exercise, really not enjoying it, being in pain, or whatever, and that's obviously not in line with our goals as trainers. So think about where that might apply, guys. Remember, it's all about, you know, applying this to your clients. Doesn't necessarily apply to everyone, but it might apply to a few, and it could be those clients that you need to help the most. Okay.